I'm Jamie Dalzell, Managing Director of Sustainable Aviation Futures portfolio of events and training courses. And today I'm speaking with Ulrike Ziegler from Impact on Sustainable Aviation ahead of the 21st, the European edition of Sustainable Aviation Futures taking place from the 21st to the 23rd of May. Ulrike, I'm very proud to say is part of the advisory board for the Congress. So thanks a lot for joining us today, Ulrike. I'd like to kick off just understanding a little bit more about you. Could you share a brief background about what Impact do and also your role within the organization?
Sure, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, Jamie. Much appreciated. So let me start with a very brief introduction on Impact. We're an NGO with currently 40 members representing the broader financial industry, or I should say the broader aviation finance industry. We're addressing the decarbonization of the sector very holistically, starting off with saying advocating transparency because we have little transparency on airlines emissions. We need more standardization on the emissions reporting that we don't have today. And ultimately, what we're developing, with our KPIs that needs to feed into finance and to lease contracts ultimately, and these KPIs need to be meaningful and tangible. And what's extremely important for us as financiers and should be for each of the stakeholders involved is they should be very much proof against greenwashing. Only if we can progress, also as financiers and drive the industry, I guess we can shield ourselves from adverse regulation, which we expect is going to come one way or another unless we really show some more progress. And what I think what's very important for people to understand is aviation is an extremely capital-intensive industry. We would like to keep the funding to the industry open, but that can only be done in conjunction with what I said: transparency, standardization, and making sure it's proof against greenwashing. What my role is, actually, I'm speaker of the board, together with my other colleagues on the board of Impact, but also obviously of the members. We're very determined to create that awareness in the broader financial arena that we see. Again, want to make sure that we're not running straight into the greenwashing trap. And again, we want to, as Impact, also come out of our bubble. And that's, I guess, part of my role, connecting with all the relevant stakeholders, because I see lots of bubble thinking, bubble talking, and people not understanding the broadness or the breadth of the ecosystem around decarbonization. So that's what I'm very, very much focused on, to connect the dots.
That's fantastic. And I think a lot of parallels that we could draw with our Congress as well, where we're trying to sort of step outside some of those traditional bubbles where maybe you only have one part of the value chain speaking in a bit of an echo chamber just to one another. What we really try and do is get everyone involved at the Congress too. So it sounds like it's a perfect partnership there. And in terms of the 2024 strategic objectives for Impact, I mean, what are they in relation to aviation decarbonization? You touched upon a couple, I think, in your introduction there, but it'd be great to understand this year ahead. What are you looking to achieve?
It's really converting the KPIs that we've developed and make sure they're going to get implemented in finance contract. And I think we also need to think a lot broader. This is not just about financing aircraft, it's also leasing space that we need to align with. Again, we need to tackle the world's biggest problem, the industry's biggest problem, and that can only be done under one umbrella. So it's really for us reaching out and deploy meaningful standards across these various contracts. As I said, we need to also enhance the role of financing in the decarbonization ecosystem. Going back to what you just touched upon, it's the bubble talking, and if you stay within your bubble, you don't learn enough to really connect the dots. And we're building lots of know-how for our members. That's why we're actually going to the conferences ourselves to connect with the relevant stakeholders, to feedback what we've learned, because our stakeholders, I should say our members, they don't have the luxury of time to kind of digest the risk nature, the risk matrix of, for example, SAF, right? That's extremely complex. You can put together a couple of pages, what the risks are. And given that we're already lagging way behind when it comes to SAF ramp up, we would like to facilitate that know-how building and obviously interact with other stakeholders and create that awareness that we're part of the equation. Now, I've just come back from another, I dare say, decarbonization event. There was lots of talk about, technologies, and I'm always very grateful for that. I'm just a banker. But at the same time, there was very little focus on how can you get it financed. And I think that's the big elephant in the room that people need to acknowledge. We need to bring us financiers to the table to make sure that SAF carbon capture is available within the time frame, within the volume that we actually see it on these wonderful wedge charts. And, exactly, let me touch on one thing, and that's again, going back to the echo chambers, we as Impact would like to be a lot broader. I mean, at the moment, we're very European-centric because of European taxonomy. We have some members in Asia, but we need to go broader, right? We need to have more members in Asia, in North America, in the Middle East, and also go outside the traditional financiers. We need more lessors, aircraft lessors that come in. We need more academia, investors, and also insurers. I mean, we're all going to suffer from the same pain, so we better unite. And that's also very high on the agenda, becoming a truly global organization.
Yeah, I think you touched upon your members, and you also touched upon the need to sort of spread the message a little bit wider and broader. A key question from my side is this: I'm really interested to understand what sustainability means to the aircraft finance or aviation finance community. So why does it matter to your members? Why is sustainability something that they're looking at the moment?
I mean, we are held through EU taxonomy, but also due to the pressure that we get from our shareholders and stakeholders to be more transparent on the financing activities that we do, right? And I think people need to acknowledge that aviation is not a core product for many banks. It's part of transportation finance portfolio. You can build relatively high or book relatively high volumes within a limited period of time, and you only need a handful of people. But when you look at it, I've been in the industry for more than 20 years. We're very opportunistic. We go in and out, with the cycle. And again, in history, it's always been about the cycle and the low margin business of aviation. Now it's decarbonisation. And we want to be sure that we can be seen as a solution, that we're not associated with a brownish industry that's accused of greenwashing. We're very shy, and we want to shy away, I guess, if we can't see or help on progress, because our shareholders are going to come at us, regulators are going to come at us. So that's I think it's the key message. And I guess ultimately, what I said earlier, we would like to preempt adverse regulation. And I think it's very clear we're not trying to sugarcoat stuff, right? It is what it is. But let's talk solutions now. So that's why it's extremely important for us as financiers.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that Refuel EU Aviation will probably dominate a lot of the discussion take place at the Congress as well. I'm delighted to confirm that you're going to be joining as a speaker at the event, and the panel discussion that you'll be joining will focus on de-risking the project development process to secure more finance and investment for SAF projects. I mean, what's one thing that you think could be done in the next 12 months which would drive more money into the hands of the commercialization of SAF and the scale up of SAF projects? I mean, if we can simplify it down to one thing, of course.
That's a very challenging task, but I like your question. I ask myself the question every morning when I get up. One very simple solution could be, again, connecting the dots across the stakeholder system, understanding the pain points of each of the stakeholders, from feedstock suppliers to off-takers, all the way through policymakers, to make sure that all the tools that we've been given, through the IRA, through Refuel EU and the likes, can actually deploy it in a meaningful way. And, how can we best allocate risk for people to make it happen and say, yes, we get the buy-in. I think we also must find a way to get support for first-of-a-kind projects. People want to see that these plants can, be up and running, that technology is proven. I guess also getting more involvement from airlines and lessors. And one example that I would really like to share, in particular, if we're talking lessors, we're seeing that these guys are waking up to reality, right? Because whatever emissions their airline clients have, their lessees have, it's their scope 3. So, and their investors, their stakeholders, shareholders, they will look at what the lessor is doing in the long term. And I guess, I dare to say over the last 12 months, I've seen some movement on the lessor side from saying this is not our core business. But, they are getting together and they're pooling money. And that's very good for us as financiers to see, that there is skin in the game. I mean, we're not talking about billions, but still enough money to foster R&D and to invest in multiple projects, and also do a bit of experimentation to see what's again driving it. And I think that's that's why it's so important to really get their buy-in, and could be very valuable in the next 12 months to see more engagement from these guys.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I think we hosted a MENA Congress last month, and the key word that came out of that event was collaboration. And even though it was held in a different region, I think that's just what you just mentioned there, where we get every member of the value chain working together towards the same goal. I think certainly is sort of one way where we can scale up the industry. Ulrike, thank you so much for joining us today, and I look forward to seeing you in person in Amsterdam this May. We're obviously delighted to have Impact as partners for the Congress, and yeah, thanks again for your time.
Perfect. Likewise. Thank you so much, Jamie. Looking forward to seeing you.